For those who may not be familiar,
Yeah.
can you explain what the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce actually oversees?
You know, it's quite descriptive. And those are the big categories. Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. So we are supposed to make sure we look at what's happening with industry, encourage it, find ways to make sure it expands, making sure that we have investment to come in to build industries, and those could be service industries, or they could be, manufacturing industries, and so on. In the case of commerce, is to make sure that the playing field is level for all of those who play on it. So we have 20 agencies in the Companies Office of Jamaica, registered people. JBDC helps MSMEs. You have JIPO that will register your trademark or your music or whatever intellectual property you have. We have BSJ that will test your products to make sure if you have to be HACCP compliant or other testing compliant. So we have a whole quality set of testing. HSRA to make sure that if you're going to use dental equipment in Jamaica, that because usually it has some nuclear power related to it, so it has to be properly tested.
Now that I'm actually thinking
so
about
we
it.
make sure that the Jamaican population, the citizenry, people who engage in business, people who are customers, are well protected. So that's broadly what the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce does. But it also provides incentives. Incentives, later on, I'm sure we'll talk about the productive input relief and so on, that it finds ways to help manufacturers, small businesses, people who haven't started a business yet, entrepreneurs, to get into the business. So broadly, that's what we do.
Okay, so just kind of taking a needle and you want to thread it a little bit. Why is it so important to Jamaica's economy, specifically for like entrepreneurs and small businesses? Because,
I ran banks all my professional career. And I know how many people just won't go into a bank. If you're from the country, you don't go in there. The women wear high heels. They dress good. They have on lipstick. They talk fancy language. And you're a farmer with your hat and your beard not even shaved. So they don't go into the bank.
Yeah.
So we find that they wouldn't even come into the ministry, so we have agencies. But then we found out that they're not even going in the agencies because the agencies have people who dress that way too.
As well, yeah.
And speak that way too, for the most part. So we have been taking the agencies to them on road shows.
Got you.
To make sure ordinary Jamaicans, because that's who we want. We have run an open economy. This government, the Andrew Holness administration, runs a very open economy. It wants to make sure people can make profits. We have no currency restrictions. You can buy and sell currency as you need within the law. And so we want to run that kind of open economy. And for that to work, when somebody gets out of school or you've lived in the country all the time and you now want to start a business, you need help. And so the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, through its many agencies, then offer you a helping hand, offering you sometimes how to make to start off with a business plan. Next time you get to be a much more complicated business plan, Exim Bank and other of our agencies help you with funding, and we lead you on to DBJ and others, and then you can get into the bigger banking commercial world. So that's what we do there. We're there to foster, enable, facilitate business activities in this country to help the economy to grow. Without a growing economy, you're going nowhere.
That is true. Now, you touched on it a while ago when you're talking about your professional. I want to know a little bit more about your upbringing, your professional background. How did you become Minister Aubyn? Who is Mr. Aubyn Hill before we got to
All right.
Minister
Well,
Aubyn Hill.
how about just plain Auburn Hill?
Just plain Aubyn Hill.
I was born in St. Elizabeth, Top Hill. I grew up in the adjoining district, Southfield. Southfield is just a little bit down the road from Monroe College. I went to a primary school called Top Hill Primary School, named after the district. Southfield is about, I would say, probably 1,800, 1,900 feet above sea level. Monroe is at the highest point of the Santa Cruz Mountain, about 2,500 feet above sea level. So the climate was salubrious, very accommodating. Farmers lived there, a lot of farmers. My father had a farm. My father had a shop. And so we worked on the farm. We grew up on the farm. And from there, I went to Monroe College. Then I came to Kingston, joined, after I left Monroe College, I went to teach at I just finished A-levels. 18, I went to Ballards Valley Primary School in St. Elizabeth to teach. I taught math and English at 5th and 6th form at the time. Then came to Kingston, joined Time Store, worked with Time Store, went through the ranks very quickly, got a scholarship from Time Store to study at the University of Miami, went there, did 2 degrees in 3 years, and of course worked for 2 degrees.
Hold on. 2 degrees in 3 years.
In 3 years.
Wow.
Was student by the president.
Oh, no, you're active.
Was on the president's honor roll and was always on the dean's list. Left from there. Normally, you wouldn't get into Harvard Business School unless you have work experience. But my work experience at Time Store, they accepted that. So I then went to Harvard Business School, did my MBA there, went to Wall Street as a banker, American Express International Bank, which American Express owned at the time, sold it subsequently. Took me around from New York to Rome to India to Sri Lanka, where I opened a bank in Sri Lanka. We opened American Express Bank there.
Really?
And from there, between New York and Sri Lanka, I worked in Rome. Then I left American Express Bank, joined, when I went to Bahrain with American Express, I left the American Express, joined a Kuwaiti bank, went there for 3 years, stayed there for 8. Saddam Hussein drove me out, and the rest is history.
Right.
I went to run other banks, including coming back here to run NCB, to turn it around when it was coming out of government. Mike Lee Chin had just bought it. And we turned it around quite effectively and quickly.
Yeah.
And then I went off to do my consulting and got into government. So that's a relatively brief history of how I got here.
Well, I want to kind of pick your brain as to how does your upbringing shape how you approach leadership and how do you approach government?
Interestingly, it has shaped it tremendously. I believe my value system, I don't believe my value system is solidly based on the Judeo-Christian belief. Believe in Christ. I believe he was born of a virgin, that he was sinless, that he died, that he rose again, and he offers salvation by faith plus nothing. All you have to do is accept that he did all that, and that you are a sinner.
Yeah.
Because all of us are. And that he will offer you salvation. I believe that conditions how I think. I believe it makes me disciplined. It makes me choosy. You have to make choices.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what separates human beings from other animals. We have the ability to choose. And it also allows you corrective measures. We're all going to make mistakes, sometimes big ones. And we have to realize that there's a collective path you can take. Some people call it, you have to have a moral compass. Some who don't seem to behave quite differently.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things I noticed that dictators are different. And many people who practice and live in a democratic basis believe that you can change dictators. Only one person can change a dictator, and that's Christ.
Yeah.
Because dictators are different.
Yeah.
They really only believe that it's power that will do things, and they might have a point, but the power that they believe in is the one that they have.
Right.
So if you have any, they'll be happy to take it away. But those are the kinds of thinking that I do, and I think a great deal. I love to read, so I read a lot of economics and politics and philosophy and everything I can read. So that's really how my background is built.
Quick shout out to the folks at iPrint Jamaica. They're the ones behind the bold, eye-catching billboards you've been seeing across the island for the pod. They're all about trust, service, and impact, and they help brands show up exactly where it matters. If you're ready to level up your next campaign, just click the link in our description or head on to iPrintGroupJamaica.com and let their team bring your vision to life.
The Koined Insights podcast is produced by Koined Digital, our in-house team of creatives, strategists, and storytellers. We don't just create content, we build brand ecosystems, podcasts, and campaigns that drive real engagement. If you want to produce something like this, or better, tap the link in the description to book a discovery call, and let's build something together.
This episode is brought to you by Rock Hotel Kingston, the heartbeat of downtown. Whether you're here for business, creativity, or just the view, Rock gives you the space to relax, recharge, and create. Think rooftop energy, city culture, and unmatched vibes. Ready to experience it for yourself? Book your next getaway online.
Take a second to subscribe and share this episode with someone who's ready to level up. It helps more than you know and lets the algorithm know that these conversations matter to you.
So before we step back into Minister's office, I'd like to. There's a young man out there who he's stepping into just Aubyn Hill's office, Aubyn Hill MBA. What would be your like one principle that you'd share with them if they were to just sit down? You were to sit down with them and have some coffee or tea.
Go to Monroe College. I mean, sorry.
Boy, I'd probably give us similar advice, but it wouldn't be Monroe.
Apart from that, seriously, is that you're going to have to be disciplined and self-accountable. You cannot depend on what just people say and think about you.
Yeah.
You have to develop your own template as to how you're going to live your life. I believe that if you have a moral compass, mine is based on the Judeo-Christian belief, and I believe that's the best one.
Same.
So if you have that, you have to be disciplined and you have to be willing to work hard.
Yeah.
You have to, as much as possible. I think what helped me when I was growing up, I decided very early what I wanted. I was just very blessed to do that.
Yeah.
My dad thought I would have been a good lawyer. I always argued with him. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to hire lawyers and hire accountants. So he never really got mollified until I finished Harvard Business School and recognized that really I can probably hire a few people.
Right.
But it's good to get to a place where you know early what you're going to do. It doesn't happen to everybody. Some people take a little longer to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
William Pitt was Prime Minister of Britain at 23, but there are very few people who after Pitt or before Pitt was Prime Minister in their 20s.
Right.
So it's an exceptional position. But you must force yourself to think clearly and say, this is the path, and recognize that it's not linear. You're going to buck your toes.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to punch you off the line, and you still have to get up and get
go.
back on.
Yep.
You must not give up. And you cannot be ruled by everybody's opinion of you. When you're younger, yes, people are going to tell you, but quickly you must get to a point where you believe, and you get to a place where you sort out right and wrong. A big part of what I believe is happening to our world today is that the issue of right and wrong is not discussed. It's there is a global relativism that doesn't require you to make choices. And if you don't have to make those choices, you're giving up part of what makes you an exceptionally good human being.
Yeah.
And so where you see relativity taking over, and there are books written on this, where you see relativity taking over, you see society drifting. There are no rights and wrongs anymore.
Right.
The lines become blurred if there are any at all, and anything goes. Anywhere anything goes, leave it. Go somewhere else. That's my advice.
That's good. All right. So as we're transitioning from business into the government, what would you say is one thing that you've learned in business that applies just as much in government?
What I've learned in business that does not apply so much.
No, that does apply.
I'm telling you, I'm going to answer your question in the way I want to answer it. You ask the question,
You're reformulating
it.
Okay. All right.
That I'd love to see in government learning this from business, that there are timelines for things to be done, that there are, and people will follow it.
Right.
That maybe, and I'm not sure that this can work without you having ownership. The reason why ownership in a company works so well is because your asset and your money is at risk.
Yeah.
When you don't have any skin in the game, and there are some public servants that are really diligent and really do believe that they have a skin in the game as to how the country is properly run. But there are many who do not have any skin in the game. And that then allows them to accept timelines that have no maturity. Nothing is urgent. Spending money that you shouldn't be spending.
Right.
And I'm not just talking about Jamaicans. I'm talking about, I've lived in 9 different countries. So I've seen it. So I would want to see people who are in government. Now, the better governments, and I imagine Singapore would be right up there at the top. Better governments do have professionals who follow the rules as if it's business.
Right.
But then they're treated a great deal like business people in government. And I therefore believe, and many people will have a real problem with this, that say, oh, I want government to be like business. I want government to be as efficient as business. I want government to be as effective as business. And efficiency is not the same thing as being effective.
That's true.
So that's what I would like to see a lot more of. But a lot more ownership would have to be taken by the practitioners of government.
Got you. Now, speaking about efficiency and effectiveness.
I can have a sip of tea on
Yeah, man,
yes.
go ahead.
Oh, good.
So as you're talking about, being more efficient and being more effective in government, we've had a conversation before, and I've been coming to this realization over the past few years, how how well your ministry has actually been doing in assisting small businesses and small and micro businesses to grow, really. Can you just give just a little deeper dive into how your ministry is doing that?
You know, Mario, when I came to the ministry, soon after I came to the ministry, I got the trade report for the previous year. It was like I came to ministry in January 2022. Like March, I got the first report, or maybe earlier April, don't remember exactly when. And I looked at the trade figures. We had imported 5.795 thereabout billion US dollars and exported a mere 4.5 thereabout. So we had a big
Billion.
trade.
It's a
We had
huge gap.
3.5 billion trade deficit 1 year, US dollars. So I said to the researchers at the ministry, and one of the first place I went on the first day, I think when I went to the ministry was, I went around a bit, but I stopped quite a bit of time with the young researchers. And I spent there and talked to them. And I said, all right, now you give me the trade data from 1960. That was in that year we were going to be the 62nd year of independence. But I took it from 1960. And from 1960, there was only 1 year that we had made a positive trade balance, and that was 1966. Bauxite was good.
Booming at that time.
And sugar was not longer the king, but it was a strong prince.
Yeah.
So that year, things went well for the country. And since then, we've never had another positive trade balance.
Got you.
Now, I looked at the numbers again, and I realized we have about, well, maybe 450,000 MSMEs in the country, businesses in the MSME sector. They employ 60 to 70% of the employed people in the country. Probably north of 40% of the GDP is done by them.
Wow.
And so I had a permanent secretary, Mr. Stancy Bennett Templar, who had a real passion for MSME. And we said, we're going to change this. So we then looked, of course, we had an MSME division and JBDC, an agency, look after them and so on. So we said, we're going to take the ministry and the agencies on the road with the road show to get the MSME entrepreneurs to understand what is there that the Andrew Holness administration, the government is there to help you with. So all 20 of them had to go with me everywhere. We went to Mandeville, Ocho Rios, Montego Bay, Santa Cruz, Kingston, of course.
Right.
And we have more places to go. And I took them out and I said to the MSME, come show you, we give them a place to be like the Dragons Den.
Yeah,
we
like an incubator.
Come put up your pitch. If you do it well, we gave them $200,000 for if you're micro. If you're bigger, you got a bigger number of money. I don't know, 500. So we then gave out, I know, many millions of dollars that way. Our sponsors help us. We got money we got a big donation, 53 million the first year.
Really?
Jamaican dollars equivalent from the IDB.
Wow.
We had sponsors like DBJ. We had sponsors like Grace and Lasco, and we took it out there and say, look, you are very special to Jamaica. We want to help you. We want to hear from you where you need help. And they come in and we need castor oil help. We need to make lotions help. We need to make sure with the clothes that we're making, if they're making clothes. And then we got to say, okay, every single one of you, the moment you get somewhat established, you must export. The only way this country is going to get rich
Is if we
is
export.
if we export. We only have less than 3 million people and a per capita GDP of less than 7,000. You can't get rich selling to only those people.
Yeah.
So you have to sell across the world. So I took them to new markets. I went to business missions to Guyana 3. We took 73 people once. Only 5 or 6 of those were government people. The rest were business people who pay their way, come find new markets. The first time we went to 35 people. One lady and her son disappeared for 2 days, couldn't find her. When she comes back with a new partner,
Wow.
new business establishment. It's Home Choice.
Oh,
By the time we went back the third time, Home Choice is established.
I have seen an uptick with Home Choice.
She has her vans wrapped, and business is going well, and she's doing very well.
That's wonderful.
And the same thing happens. We have ICT companies. We took 60. I didn't know we had 16 ICT companies here. 16 of them went with me to Canada. Some went with me to Britain. They have found business in Dubai. They're doing business in Dubai. They're doing business in Guyana and Trinidad and so on. So I helped to open doors that they couldn't normally open.
Right.
And we then get them into the idea that you can sell your services and your products overseas, because we're going to have to grow, and especially on services, because we don't have the landmass of Russia, the United States, or China, nor the people mass.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to be smart people, effective people, and keep training up to make sure we sell services that people want.
So I'm very interested in that.
Yes, you're in the service business.
As a founder, owner of a creative agency,
Right.
I want to know, how can a small business, a medium-sized enterprise, how can we export our services? Like, what are the channels that the ministry has set up to support export? What are the processes that we have to go through?
All right. Let me speak generally. There's something called the productive input relief.
Productive input relief.
If you are the PIR, if you're manufacturing, making anything, and you make videos, you make sound, whatever you do in your business, movies too. Any equipment or material you import to do your business, given that you will have been registered at the Companies Office of Jamaica, you will have been registered under the PIR program at the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, my ministry.
So automatically, or separate registration?
No. You have to take the initiative.
Got you.
Come in and do it. Everything is on the website. You can get information from there.
Got you.
Come in and do it. The material and equipment that you employ, you import, we will make sure you get it duty free.
Really?
You'll get it customs free. If you're manufacturing something, now you have to come and talk to us. Now, what that happens? Give you an example. Somebody was in the mining business. They imported a piece of equipment from Germany for $2 million US. When we finished with the PIR benefit, they were able to be excused of about $500,000 US in duty and customs fare and all that stuff. So it really is worthwhile, but it works as well for, I imagine, 10 microphones or 2 microphones or 2 mixers if you're going to use your mixer to make drinks and whatever else you use it for. So in other words, it's across the range.
Got you.
We are now looking to expand the scope of the coverage because we want to make sure the services industries are involved as well. So that is being done. And the ministry, come to the ministry, we'll talk to you about it. So that's one real benefit that we give. The other benefit is, of course, the agencies that are there to help you.
Yes, I want to talk about the agencies a little bit.
JBDC, this is a good time to say one of the best things, I believe, one of the best inventions of Western capitalism is the limited liability company. The limited liability company allows you and your brother and your wife and your mother and friends to join a company, sell shares.
Yeah.
You bring money and and technique. Somebody brings managerial skills and expertise, and so on.
Yeah.
And all of you then become shareholders, and the risk is spread.
Yeah.
And the pot of investable dollars and goodies gets bigger because you have more people in there to contribute to it. And when you put that in place, you then have a basis to make a plan. JBDC will help you make a plan to say, look, I have so much equity, but in order to grow, I need some money to borrow.
Right.
Because equity is a very expensive kind of capital.
Yeah.
You need to balance it out with the much less expensive debt. So you borrow money from bank, and the interest rate is designed and described, and you can grow. So JBDC will help you do a business plan that will help you to get other investors if you need them,
Right.
or help you to get a bank loan.
Okay.
And Exim Bank is there for when you start off, a couple $1 million, and you start off for a couple tens of $1 million, you can get that. And that's all in the ministry.
Really?
And Jampro is there to help you hold your hand to export when you want to export. The Jamaica Intellectual Property Office is there to register your trademarks,
Right.
so you're protected. And JANAC, if you are going to do something that has to be tested in a lab, JANAC is there to make sure that the labs are accredited. So when you get tested, you're good to export overseas. And so a whole bunch of activities are in the ministry. A whole bunch is there, rather, in the ministry. And a whole bunch of activities can help you to get where you want to go. But the website is there. Use it. The agencies have their own websites. What does JAMPRA do? What does JBDC do? And at the stage you are in your development, and clearly very young, it's just very easy for you because you're walking around with your laptop, you use it.
Yeah, that's true. So what you're saying to me is that the resources are there, the support is there. My question is, what do you think is one thing holding most Jamaican entrepreneurs back?
Probably just decide to be an entrepreneur. Because you have to make that. Remember, we talked about choice before. You have to make a choice.
Yeah.
Do you want the security of earning a salary, or you want to take the risk of not having a salary at the end of the month, or not knowing where it's coming from on day 25 of the month?
Boy,
as an entrepreneur, you know how it is, and payday is coming.
Yep.
So you have to be willing to carry those risks.
I was talking to a friend some time ago, and they were saying to me, a lot of people, they get the privilege of living paycheck to paycheck. We live invoice to invoice.
That's right.
And sometimes that invoice,
you send the invoice and you don't get paid. It gets delayed, and you have to pay. Workers.
People, you realize that this is a man that understands business. him not just here for the go. No, him understand the business. Him understand.
I ran big businesses where I didn't have to worry about that. Then I ran small businesses that you really have to worry about. Where's the paycheck going to come from?
Where's it going to come? You submit an invoice.
Right.
It's not going to come in for another 60 days. Sometimes it's net 90.
And how you and then you have to find a way
until then.
Which is where the working capital part comes in.
Right.
So before you start your business, you go to JBDC, say, help me get a working capital plan. I'm ready to go.
Right.
I have some money in, but I will want to have a cushion on my working capital, so that when these things happen, and they do happen, you can continue your business and grow. But you also have to be insightful. You have to be hard driving.
Yeah.
You cannot, a small business doesn't become. Remember, Grace was a small business at one time.
They were.
They were. Somebody had to start it with something.
Sure.
And it wasn't a big building and 5 trucks. That's not how it started.
I remember.
So you have to, go ahead.
I was saying, I remember we were doing an interview, team and I were doing an interview last year, and we had interviewed the CEO of No, man, I'm not talking about grayscale. I was talking about when Jamaica Brawlers.
Yes.
And
Chris Levy.
Yes. And they started off with what, 50 chickens? And now
That's
they're
what his grandfather started with.
and now they're producing over 5,000 chickens a day.
Oh yeah,
You know?
and they're huge.
And they're huge. So you have to really start somewhere. So a question came to mind.
But you have to I don't want to leave you at the start.
No, man, please.
You're going to have to really be willing to work extremely hard.
Yes.
It is not 8-hour day. It is 16. Sometimes it's 20
Sometimes it's
hours
more
a
than-
day.
yep.
Sometimes it's around the clock.
For sure.
Depending on what's happening.
You could be brushing your teeth, trying to go to
right
bed, and
there,
you're still
and
thinking
you're
about
still-
that.
And you
decision you
you
need to
might
make.
go to bed.
Yeah,
Because there's a deadline that you have to meet, and you have to be leading it.
for sure.
And that happens at the beginning of the business. And you want to make sure you have the business balance, but you don't want to lose that ethos that makes you work so hard, and you have to instill that in people and let them recognize that that's what makes the business, our business what we are. And you have to make sure you have that drive. And if you are the lead entrepreneur, everybody's looking at you. Everything you do will affect them in a way until the company gets bigger. They're like kids.
Yeah.
When you have young kids, you don't even know what they're learning from you. And they're certainly not just learning what you tell them. They're learning what they see you do.
Yep, for sure.
So you have to be careful. I know you and your wife have young kids, so
No?
no, not yet.
Not
But
yet.
you've seen kids. You just got married.
Yeah, we just got married last year.
Yeah, so
That was last year.
not yet. So,
Not yet.
But you've seen kids. I know
For
you've
sure,
seen kids.
for sure.
And the parents have to do that.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that they're watching you more than how they're listening to you. And the same thing in a company. You have to be that kind of parent until your colleagues can be weaned off and become division heads and run their own part of the business.
Right. All right. I want to. So I want to touch on the creative industry a little bit, but
Right.
I'm not ready to go there just yet.
Okay.
You're talking to that same young man in the office,
Right.
We had mentioned earlier. He's had an idea, and he jumped on it. He started to work on it, but because he did not know of, the support and the resources available to him through the ministry. Is it too late for him to go and get that help?
Absolutely not. You walk into walk into JBDC, which is on, is it Camp Road? That's where JBDC is on Camp Road.
Right.
So you go there and somebody's there to help you, take you through it. There's another thing. You have to be persistent.
Persistent, yeah.
You have to remember that when you say you're at JBDC and I come in, there are probably 15 other people you have to deal with, and you have
That's true.
3 staff. So you can't be. And if one day I come in and you don't show me such a good face because things are tough, that must have nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Okay, so now he's bad for this hour. I go away, I come back later,
Yep.
or come back early in the morning when I'm fresh. But you have to be deliberate. Most times, they're there to help you through it. But there are times when it might not work as well as you expect.
Right.
You have to be deliberate and purposeful because you have the objective. It's not their objective. You're trying to get them to buy into your objective.
Right.
So you have to be persistent.
Right.
And keep going and move from one and ask at JBDC, what else you have in the government to help me? Because they won't necessarily be right there to tell you that. But if you ask, you can say, oh, but you have this issue here.
You can check
Go
out.
over to Jumper, they can help you. Or go to Exim Bank, they will have some advice for you or find some way to help you get the money that you need. But if you don't ask, you're not going to get anywhere.
One of my favorite sayings, closed mouths don't get fed.
That's right.
Yep. Love that. All right. So what advice would you give a creative entrepreneur trying to get their work or even their equipment across the border? So you had touched briefly on registering JIR.
With PIR.
PIR, sorry.
With the ministry.
Right.
Register with the ministry.
Register with the ministry. And the benefits tremendous. But no, we're talking about exporting. We're actually talking about moving. Let's say, for example, we have a shoot in Grenada. We have a job in Grenada.
Right.
We'd like to go and, get that hassle-free without having to, come back and be said, where you get this equipment from? Where you come from? And be charged. Is there a process that creatives? Is there a process that our businesses can go through, should go through, must go through in order to make the working in the region easier and internationally as well?
The reason why you get paid so much because you have to have hassle. There's nothing called hassle-free in your business. Okay.
Why?
So let's start right there. Now, in getting equipment into Jamaica is one way I can advise you on customs duty and so on. That
Right.
There's a way to register and get it in, and we're working to make that system easier. Jumper, you need to talk to Jumper about this.
Talk to Jumper.
About getting things in. Now, going into Grenada, talk to Jumper as well.
Okay.
Talk to the trade board as well. Go on the trade board side. It has 190 countries import rules. So you can know what you have to have.
Right.
So it gives you basic stuff. Then you make a contact in Grenada or Antigua and say, we want to bring in equipment. What should we do? It is unwise to just turn up at the airport.
Right.
Okay? Or
Right.
the seaport. Get
permission.
advice and then double check it.
Yeah.
Talk to a custom broker who you might want to use in Antigua. Check which one is the better one. Get their advice. Before you do anything, before you start, and put one in the microphone in a box so that you know what you're getting into. Somebody here might know, but somebody there on the ground, because rules change overnight, can tell you what is going on. So you should prepare when you're going to export. Now, for us to export our products or castor oil or fruits or yam or whatever we export, we have to be able to advise people. Custom brokers do that. Sometimes the ministry will help you, trade board will help you. So you can get various help, but in the final analysis, Omari, it's you.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
You are the man. You're the entrepreneur. You have to make sure it gets right, and you have to find the most efficient and cost-efficient way to get the information you want and to transport your stuff. Coming into Jamaica is quite different because we make those rules and we can advise you from here. Going overseas, my best advice is to do your homework very well. And when you do it extremely well and you turn up there and you get a miserable custom person, God bless you, you still have to deal with that. Because you can't condition the person for the day when them auntie died or them just have a quarrel with them spouse.
Yeah.
You have to deal with it.
Which is why, back to what you were saying earlier about, not making sure that other people's opinions, they don't trample on.
You don't trample. You
on
just
what you're
have
doing.
to.
You just make your decision and you stick to it.
And you raise your anxiety level and raise the level where your impatience. You raise your patience level high. You just stand up there, let her talk or let him talk, and when you finish, you say, "And how do I fill up this form?" After them take you there for 5 minutes and cuss you and quarrel, and in their mind them say, "Where this Jamaican are going?" You finish, you met them done. because they cannot talk forever.
Yes.
One person cannot talk forever. No, I see your wife is here. It also works well.
It's a tactic I employ.
Yes, man.
Just translated it into
one
business.
person can't talk forever. And
You
then
know,
when you
you're right.
finish, you say, oh no, how do I get this in? And I want, I have this show at Grants Park. And it might be near your home. You know where it is? And they say, yes, I know Grants Park. I said, that's where I'm going, Help me get the thing in, man. That's after they cost you for 5 minutes.
Right.
Okay.
What you're talking a lot about is interpersonal relationships.
Absolutely.
And
Vital.
Very vital to business.
Vital. And, my grandmother used to say you could catch a lot more flies with honey than with castor oil or gas oil. Flies not going there. So you have to be patient and you have to be gracious. And in that you can be firm if you're going to be pushed, but you don't have to be rude.
Right.
And the moment you cross the line into rude,
that's it.
You've lost it.
That's it.
You've lost it.
That's it.
So when they finished him, I said, boy, him really Jamaican was nice, eh? so we have to, and it's practice.
Yeah.
It's like, I play tennis a lot. If you don't practice the game, you cannot play it.
Cannot play.
And when you make a mistake, sometimes you have to get a coach. You notice all the big guys, the biggest names, the Federers, the Alcaraz, the whoever, Coco Gauff.
Yeah.
They all have 2 or 3 coaches around them. Now they even have a psychologist traveling with them.
Yeah.
So if at that level you have to have coaching, can you imagine down here?
Yep. It's
So
one
make
thing
sure
I always
you're-
like. If the professionals have to have these systems in place.
As much as you can talk to people because you can't pay for it.
Right.
So you get free advice.
Just get as much free advice as you can get.
There's something else I want to say to you, Amari, as you build your business. I remember a close friend of mine when I came back and I was divesting sugar and the contractor general at the time went after me that my contract was whatever it was. And I went on the radio and said, well, I didn't sign I didn't give myself a contract. Somebody gave it to me. I signed it because we agreed it. And then a friend of mine said, how do you manage with all that criticism? Of course, that was a little bit. I'm now in government. They criticize me more.
Right.
Some of the things they say, I laugh at it on social media. How do you manage? I said, and I want you to really remember this, you and your wife, as you build your business and your friends around you. Your good friend will generally not tell you the whole truth. Exceptionally, a good friend will tell you the whole truth because he or she is willing to risk the friendship because they believe that you need to hear that truth.
Yeah.
Very often, the reason why they hesitate because the truth is harsh.
Yeah.
That particular truth that they feel they have to tell you is harsh. You don't want to hear it. Your good friends will never tell you that. They will walk around it or they might even sus behind your back.
Right.
So I said to the person, I listened very carefully to my most acerbic critic. My most acerbic critic will tell you how you don't have no education, you don't have no manners, you're arrogant, you think you're better than everybody else, da 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 da.
Right.
And what I do is I treat my most acerbic critic as an unpaid consultant. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
Because nobody else consulting with you, even the ones them that you pay, are going to tell you the truth that way. When them dislike you
They're going to
and
tell you
them feel
everything.
that they hate you,
The raw.
and then give it to you raw. Now, what you have to do is remember that even they can be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you have to have a sense of introspection.
Mm-hmm.
You go away and you sit down because, first of all, you shut him out. Don't get into an argument. You're not going to win that argument.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
don't waste your time.
For sure.
Just shut him out. We'll go back. I'll just give you one thing from James 1:19, which you probably know. Be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger.
Yep.
Okay? So, and James was Jesus' brother, so he must know a thing or two. Half brother. So, he must know a thing or two. So, you listen
Mm-hmm.
and you go away and do an introspection on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know yourself. You should know yourself. And many people don't want to do self-introspection.
Yeah.
It takes time. It's hard. You don't want to hear it from yourself.
Yeah.
But do it. When you do it, you say, okay, this part of where John told me this is right.
Right.
I'm going to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
This part is right. Them 2 parts and 3 parts over here are not right.
Right.
I'm not right. I'm wrong about that, and I'm telling myself the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So I disregard what I now have assessed to be wrong.
You take note.
I can't waste my time on that. But you must be sure that he's wrong in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When the 2 or 3 that you know him right on, you fix it. I promise you, 3-4 years from now, John will still be accusing you of the 3 that he consulted with you on for free. That you fixed, you're well gone, and him sit down back there.
Mm-hmm.
Or her.
Right.
So really, really, I hope you don't have many acerbic critic because you're living your life well.
Right.
But there are going to be some.
There will be.
Jesus was perfect, man, and look what they do to him. So, you're going to have
Can't
critics.
escape it.
The Pharisees were around him every single day, and the Sadducees after him, and him never create no sin. So can you imagine you and me? They're going to be after us.
Boy.
So when it comes, that's how I suggest you deal with it.
Gotcha.
You use your acerbic critic as an unpaid
consultant.
And this is the part you must smile about. Just imagine if I had to go to a psychologist or a business consultant, how much they would have paid me.
Boy.
And him just give me for free. But the other 3 kind of salt.
Right.
And it's really paying a bit, but let's move on. I suggest you handle it that
Yeah.
way.
That's pretty good. We had a question from the team. I forget that.
I remember the question. It was asking what is in place as it relates to CARICOM. As it relates to moving your equipment around, sure, but is there anything that exists now for
Mhm.
moving across the region?
So
The CSME,
no,
which is-
I just want to repeat so
Yes, go ahead.
can hear.
Yes.
So essentially, what the team is asking is like, is there anything in place in the CARICOM within the region for cross trade essentially?
for working in one place.
So if
or 3 or 4
I
places.
want to
in
leave
CARICOM.
here and go to Barbados for 3 days
And do
just,
some work
just
and
do
come
work
back.
there and come back, or go to another country after that.
It is the CSME program is there. It's in law, but it's not very well practiced.
Okay.
I think part of what might happen because of the tariff situation that President Trump has put on across the world, it is going to force, I believe, I hope, people in associations like CARICOM, maybe European Union, to look at how do you consult and work closer with your neighbors and partners, trade partners that are in an association. So that might come. I'm sure the heads of state will likely, when they meet next in CARICOM, probably discuss this and see how easy it is. There was a time, for instance, Jamaica today is quite different from even 10, 15 years ago. Jamaica has near to full employment in an emerging market where unemployment is 3.5%, that most economists treat that as full employment. So Jamaicans aren't running around again to try and get people's job in Barbados and Trinidad and so on, and maybe the same with others. So a lot of people actually want to come into Jamaica. A lot of people, business people, keep saying we need to get people because, but the labor market is churning, and we're careful not to issue work permits willy-nilly.
Right.
Technical people and so on, yes, get considered quite quickly, and they come in because they can train and so on. So the CSME hasn't worked as it was planned, as my understanding of it. There might be forces, international and regional forces, that might be forcing it to work much better than it has so far. And given the way that we are growing and we are expanding the services, for instance, or music or movies and so on, Jamaica will want to cross the border and other people will want to come here. So we want to, just recently, for instance, for many, many years, we had the privilege of going to Domrep without a visa. It was just recently that Deputy Prime Minister Chang, Foreign Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith, myself, my colleague from tourism, Ed Bartlett, we all came together and worked it out. And now people from Domrep can come here without a visa now. That's a big, they've always wanted to come to Jamaica for a short stay or even a little longer stay. But the visa discouraged them, so they go to somewhere else so they didn't have to worry about the visa.
Right.
So we expect that traffic to increase. And more and more like that will happen. But it's not perfect yet.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit more about going into the creative and entertainment industry.
Let's go.
We recently premiered, so I think it was last year, we premiered the One Love film, the Bob Marley One Love film. Was there any involvement with from the ministry with the production of that? And if so, what's its impact been?
Total involvement. First of all, then Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark and myself, we were getting this request from Paramount and other people, and we couldn't provide the money. And luckily, Dr. Clark and myself had a clear view that this is a growth industry. And we decided we should go to Cabinet, through the Prime Minister, of course. And with their blessing, we put up $1 billion Jamaican to fund the film fund. We put a film fund in for that. Paramount came. Well, Paramount was here. That was one of the drivers with others that we wanted to make sure we could accommodate, because they were going to go somewhere else.
Right.
And we couldn't have Bob Marley done somewhere else, just madness. So in the end, we set up the film fund, and we have a film commissioner operating out of Jampro. Jampro, as I said, is one of the agencies that we have. And we came to an agreement, set the rules, that we would, based on the invoices, we would give Paramount a rebate of $1.5 million US. For that $1.5 million US, they spent over $20 million in Jamaica.
Wow.
They employed over 400 people directly, for a long time, and then others, the people who that go on sets and so on, a lot more than 400. So it worked out. That's a great investment. People got employed, and they were very happy. We have Storm Salter, who was here. I was with them week before last with Jampro on the North Coast, filming something I think might be called Inheritance. I'm not sure I have the right term. But it's like a series of stories and a Netflix type
production
arrangement. And so they are now getting in. They're now putting in their requests for support. We had I don't know, 400 or 500 people put in requests to Jampro to make films and whatever else they do. And they narrowed it down to 297, and they narrowed it down to, I don't know, 8 or 10 that they're going to support. So,
Right.
and they're always calling for people. So go to the JAMPRO website, look at the film commission arrangements there, see how it works. It's transparent. It's there for you to have, and we're looking now the next supplementary budget to get additional money to put in the film fund, because we know that this is a growth area for Jamaica as
Right.
we look at building out the services sector of our economy.
What would you say is the like the trajectory of the film, creative, and entertainment industry from your end?
I think it's strong. Music, of course, is strong, but we haven't seen it as a business, which is why the business ministry, working with the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Culture and Minister Babs Grange and so on, and Minister Bartlett, all of that will come together. But we're driving it from JAMPRO, making sure that we create the environment to the ecosystem that will make this business side, this industry grow. And so we're looking at, I went to Dominican Republic with some of my colleagues from JAMPRO and elsewhere to see what they do. They have a huge pond, which is a big part of movie making, I understand, that they have built for underwater scenes and so on.
Really?
And the build-out that they have in Dam Rep is amazing. Same thing in Philippines. We have to get to that place where the cachet of Jamaica has lots of interesting history. We have Port Royal, we have slavery, we have a country that now knows how to manage an economy well. All those are good things. And we have to tell the stories of them.
Yeah, we have to tell our own,
tell our own stories.
Yep.
And so we're looking to this part of our economic activity as a growth area, a serious growth area. And we want to see young people like you getting involved and exploring, and young people like you who are overseas learn things and come back, and so on. So we are supportive of it and want to see it grow.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so we're stepping in. I don't want to go too much into it, but we are stepping into we're now in a time where there's some global uncertainty.
There is always global
uncertainty.
And we have a new one. We have a new one.
We just have a new different. My wife was saying, it's just a different font.
It's a different one. Yes,
it's just a different font. What mindset or strategy should MSMEs adopt to survive and thrive during different types of uncertainties?
Again, you have to develop a sense of resilience. You have to be willing to realize that you're going to get punched and hit.
Yeah.
And there are times when you're going to get a smooth sailing. Take it fast. And if the road is smooth, run fast. Take it. Save your money when you make it. Reinvest in your business. Don't go out and take the little profit that you make early in your day and waste it and live high. Nonsense. It won't last. Make sure you build the business, and yes, pay yourself, but you cannot splurge while you're building a small business. You have to constantly reinvest and look for new markets, look for new things to do. While you're in a small economy, you have to do one of the following. Either you develop your business to do different things in a small economy, so you get more range and scope, or you narrow and look at an international market and say, I am going to go after this international market, and there's a part in in Costa Rica. There's a part in Domrep. There's a part clearly in 5 cities of the United States: Atlanta, Miami, New York. We go to Canada. We have Toronto. We have Britain, and we have to find new markets.
Yeah.
Some of them in Africa, especially in your kind of business.
Yeah.
You never know. But we have to have a mindset that is constantly looking outside, even while we build our business inside.
Yeah, right.
Because when you have a Jamaican limited company, for instance, Jamaica Brothers, although it has by now maybe more than half of its income coming from the United States, which is the world's biggest market, it is still a Jamaican company, registered on Jamaica Stock Exchange. So Jamaicans can buy into it. So we have to make sure that we look at where the possibilities are, and in the tariff world of Trump, you know, we are. People say prices are going to rise immediately, and one editorial writer took me on saying I was too cavalier about saying we will wait and see how CBI work out and where are we going to go. Well, prices would have risen immediately if we put on reciprocal tariffs, because then at the port you'd have to pay more for the goods coming in.
Right.
But we haven't done that. So where prices are going to rise are when we export things to the United States, but we're at the lowest level at 10%. So now we need to say, who else is in the 10% category? And do they sell what we're selling? Suppose you're in the 10% category, but you're selling what we're selling all the way from Asia or Africa. We have an immediate competitive advantage in terms of transportation, the distance for transportation, the cost of transportation. So you have to look at all those things now as an entrepreneur and say, I still have an advantage. I'm in the 10, but the people who sell the stuff that I'm selling are way overseas. Okay, if they're nearer to seas, nearer to us and nearer to the United States or nearer to the US as we are, you say, how do I become more efficient? It's going to force you to be a lot more efficient. What are my margins?
Yeah.
Are my margins such that I can squeeze a little bit and ask the importer to squeeze a little bit and keep the product in the market? You're going to have to become what I said before, efficient and effective.
Yeah.
So you have to know, and it forces you to, if you're resilient and you're wise and you're nimble and you're willing to work hard, it forces you to be a better entrepreneur and businessman. And I expect to be a richer entrepreneur and businessman or woman.
Right. That's good. All right. So we're going to wrap up a bit now. So I'm just going to shoot some quick fire questions, all right? What's one Jamaican business or creative venture you think people should be paying more attention to?
The creative business, especially in the creative business, frankly, as I talk to John Pro, the movie business, the creative video business.
Yeah.
And how do you export that and package it for export? Because we have a big deal of diaspora. I don't know how many creatives are selling creative products to our diaspora. Right. But they're there. We know who they are. Ministry of Foreign Affairs have a whole bunch of people. You need to maybe take a trip and find out. And how do we sell it to them? Because they always want to know what's going on at home.
For sure.
And a link to home.
For sure.
I remember when I lived overseas, I used to listen to the music every morning, and I'm on my way to work in a foreign country that doesn't even speak English. I'm listening to my own Jamaican music and what's happening in Jamaica. Now, of course, you stream on everything. I mean, your wife just told us how many portals you're streaming on. Everything, Spotify this and X and X tomorrow. So I would see that as a place to go. Clearly, music. But I also want to see that Jamaicans are looking at selling businesses while staying here at home.
Yeah.
I look at Forbes just disclosed the 10 richest countries by GDP. Luxembourg is 1, Singapore is 2. If Bermuda was an independent country, they'd be 3.
Really?
Luxembourg is 154, Singapore is 153, Bermuda is 125,000 US dollars per capita GDP. Wow. Now, I didn't measure it recently, but my suspicion is that Bermuda is probably smaller than St. Elizabeth.
For sure.
You know, and have a lot less mango trees than we have. Mm-hmm. But they sell financial services. Mm. You know why? And why we weren't doing it? We didn't have the legal infrastructure. They made sure, the British law, you can set up segregated accounts, which means you have a group of companies, and the bank lends to you, and you're segregated from me. Can't you grab onto the asset that you have in this section to cover that loan? You have partnerships, limited and general. You have trusts. All those are expensive service areas, and it's Jamaican lawyers and Jamaican accountants very often in Turks and Caicos, in Bermuda, in the British Virgin Islands who are doing these things. Yeah. So now we've just put in segregated accounts. We're looking at I'm going to change the partnerships. It's now with, I think, the Attorney General or office or the Chief Parliamentary Council drafting the law to change that law so we have the same ecosystem here. So many of those Jamaicans can come back, work from here, live in their own country, and make the kind of salaries that those services accrue to you. And we want that because we want that per capita GDP to grow. Yeah. So in the entertainment sector, the movie sector, and the financial services sector, those are service sectors that we're going to encourage. Clearly, we have tourism already. That's going to continue to grow. I mean, we are adding 6,000 rooms in the near future, 20,000 in the next 3 to 5 years. So I was just talking today, we have to look probably at a new set of arrangements for transport in various parts of the country. I was talking to Minister Vaz this morning. So the whole thing is coming together. Right. So I would want to see that movie part takes off, but people must also come to invest. You must encourage people to invest. A group of you come together, you provide this service. Somebody else is providing another kind of service. Somebody provide the ICT services that link all four divisions together. You bring them in and you build something that is substantial, that can be exported, and that people will leave the United States and Britain
to come here
and Colombia to come here to do their movie stuff. You make money.
Yeah. Boy, guys, look like we have a new venture for go. The interest we double down on. All right. There's so I realized earlier in the conversation you're saying that you really like talking about you really like reading.
Yes.
What would be one? Is there like a principle? Is there a book that shaped how you
there are many. I read a lot of books, but one of the books that really influenced me when I was in my early years as a CEO was a book called by Jack Welch called GE. It's like the renewal of GE, but G is in the top in the topic there. And Jack Welch was the CEO for GE for about 20 years. He moved the company to be the most respected and biggest worldwide company at the time. Yeah. They were making $400 billion in the 80s or early 90s. So GE, the Jack Welch of General Electric was really my mentor as to how to run a business.
Gotcha.
Clearly, as I said about my Judeo-Christian background, my moral compass is based on the scriptures, the Christian scriptures, and I'd like to think that, I want to pass things through those lens as I have to make tough decisions. But that's where my reading. I read a lot on economics. I read a lot on what interesting and important rulers have to do, because I'm in politics. I have to know how the world is changing, and I have my own view as to why I believe or support any particular type of politician.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I read on. But GE really had a big influence on me. Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goldman was another important book for me. I read it extensively, and so on.
Got you.
Bonhoeffer, I read Bonhoeffer, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who is a Christian philosopher of the last World War, was killed actually, and so on.
All right. So if you weren't in government,
Yeah.
what would you be doing today?
I would be probably operating as an investment banker or investment advisor, and very likely a university lecturer.
Really?
Yeah.
Specifically for investment banking or
Specifically for
businesses?
banking, financing,
Got you.
finance, and as finance affects government, or vice versa.
Okay. And last question. What's one thing you hope for Jamaica's business landscape in the next 5 years?
Well, I would hope that we have a lot more businesses transitioning from the MSME into more and bigger businesses. Clearly you want more, and we expect that to happen.
Yeah.
Love to see as well new MSME people
Open up.
coming in
Yep.
and becoming a lot more profitable. But I also want to see that the economy transitions from a place where right now we have low growth to high growth. The Andrew Holness administration is working to make sure that we put in the logistics hub, that we look at areas of upskilling our people so that they can really participate very actively and profitably in the services sector, to see our agricultural sector change. The Prime Minister has just been talking a lot about, and I was involved in this when I was the chairman of the National Water Commission and National Irrigation Commission. I was able to get the French to give us a grant for $800,000 to study the water to making the Pedro Plains really an irrigated oasis.
Okay.
They came, they did a study. They showed how, because we have the highest global horizontal irradiance, which is how you measure solar energy power, in South St. Elizabeth at Treasure Beach. The Black River is right next to down the road from Treasure Beach. It's the biggest river in Jamaica. How do you put in solar panels to power the water up to Monroe College, and then gravity feed it down to Ballards Valley, to Southfield, to Treasure Beach, water all that plain, which is a big part of our breadbasket, and therefore change agriculture. Same thing that is being done with a grant that the British government gave us. The irrigation system I spoke about just now in Pedro Plains and so on, that will cost about $180 million US. We will fund that, and there might be some arrangement for co-funding with the French government. In terms of Southeast St. Elizabeth and South Manchester, we have the Essex Valley water system almost finished, coming from part of a grant of 54 million pounds by the British government. So when I was there at the NIC 4, 5, 6 years ago, we developed that. And now it's almost done. Minister Samuda took it on when he became Minister of Water and has been doing a great job to bring it to fruition. We need to get agriculture to a place where we're not just growing stuff, but we have storage.
Yeah.
It's a business. You have to have cold storage. If you look from St. Catherine to Negril, I can't find one established cold storage in our breadbasket. Now, that's an investment opportunity for somebody who's not even farming.
Right.
You could be in the cold storage business.
Yeah.
But you'll supply the farmer. So all that is going to change. We become self-sufficient. We export a lot more food. We do agro-processing and get our people employed and even get people from overseas to come and live here and build our businesses with us. So those are the areas. The logistics hub is vital. We have one of the 7 best ports in the world. Guyana is being built out. This is the natural place to break bulk because the draft in the port of Georgetown is just 4 to 6 meters. No big ships can go there. So you have to break bulk here, send it on barges down. Kingston is just a natural place to do it. So we're looking, in addition to the BPO business that we turn Kingston and the Cayman Special Economic Zone into really a bubbling, bustling logistic hub. The government is going to put in money to build out the first 50, 60 acres, about 780 acres, put in the customs house, put in the infrastructure, and say, all right, come businesses, establish your business here, and then other investors we expect will come in and become master builders to build out more of it. So those are the plans. Clearly, the Prime Minister doesn't stop building infrastructure. Look at the roads that we put in around St. Thomas, the roads that we've extended from Maypen to Mandeville. I was coming back from St. Elizabeth on Easter Sunday. I went down there for the Horticultural Society. It took me 35 minutes from the end of the road in Manchester to the bridge in Doheny Park. So it's just a wonderful, and we weren't driving fast. It was a really fairly empty day. But people are now going to live in Mandeville and work in Kingston. So the infrastructure is there. We're putting in broadband. We're making sure that our people are trained. I want to see Jamaica change from a 7,000 US dollar per capita GDP to 15, 20, 25,000 and become a different, richer country. The only thing I want to do with poverty is eradicate it. I don't want to count it. I don't want to hear about it. I want to eradicate it.
Sounds like good news to me. All right. Thank you so very much for joining us, Mr. Where can we find the ministry on? Where can we find more info on the ministry, the different agencies? Where can we find you guys?
miic.gov.jm. Yes, you find the JAMPRO website, you find the Jamaican Intellectual Property website, the company's website, JBDC website, EXIM website, JANAC website, BSJ, Bureau of Standards of Jamaica website, and NCRA and so on. So they're all there. Go to the ministry website again, miic.gov.jm, and you can find the rest.
Everything else through there. All right. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Minister, thank you for joining us. You can go ahead, if you haven't already, subscribe to Koined Digital Studios on YouTube and wherever you are listening to this podcast episode. There will be more episodes dropping just like this one on your favorite podcast streaming platform. So, till next time, bless.